All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I know it's not a big group, and I'm using a microphone, but we're live streaming this. So I want to make sure everyone on live stream can hear us well. So it'll be nice and loud for all of you. My name is Kelly Amadeo. I believe all of you know me by now, but if anyone is on live stream who doesn't, that's who I am, and I'm the director here at St. Luke's Little School. We offer this meeting every year as a way to answer your questions, make sure we clarify things, especially in regards to kindergarten. It's a big transition, including paperwork and all of that. And so we're going to touch a bit on all of that, including developmental skills, and kind of let you know what you can expect in the next coming year as you get ready to send your child to kindergarten. We have a bunch of helpful flyers that we put out on the table, so grab one if you haven't already. And those kind of have some general information on both Douglas County and Littleton schools. I would say 90% of our students go to Douglas County schools, so I often focus more on there. And also I have more contacts, and I've worked in Douglas County schools, so I will talk a lot about Douglas County, but it also pertains to Littleton too. We make sure that our information clarifies for both school districts. So if you're in Littleton, please raise your hand if you need more information about something with Littleton. I wanted to talk to you about ages before we get started. So for Douglas County, they have a cutoff date of October 1st that we follow here too. You've probably seen that on all of our registration paperwork over the years. And that is their cutoff date for ages. So the idea is that your child is 5 by October 1st. We also offer Explorers here, which is your child has to be turned 5 between April 1st and October 1st. And that will allow them an extra year of preschool if they're on the younger end for kindergarten. So I will talk a little bit about Explorers here and there. We had a meeting about Explorers transition meeting last week. If you need any information about that, if your child falls in that information, go ahead and email my office staff, and they'll get all that information and a video sent over to you for that. So the first thing I wanted to take a peek at here is this form here. It's called Start Strong in Kindergarten, and we pass this out every year. Be careful with this form, though. Your child is not expected to do all of the things that are on this flyer here. This comes from Douglas County School District, but it kind of gives you a guideline. The other thing you have to keep in mind too is that it's November, so we still have a lot of learning that's going to take place. So don't start worrying about that. Please don't go home and start teaching your child individual things on here. They're going to get them, I promise. And one of the things too I wanted to point out is that Douglas County, this comes from their assessment piece, which is the gold assessment, and also their report card, which lines up with that as well. And that is what we have adopted this year too. So what your child is going to be assessed on throughout this year will actually be one of the first assessments that they hit when they go to kindergarten. Most Douglas County schools have an assessment day that first week of school. It's like a half day where kindergartners drop in and do quick assessments, saves them some time in their planning. And so your child will see those kind of the same things that they have here. They'll see them on their assessments in kindergarten. But that's where the basis of these 6 categories come from. So we have language, social, emotional, cognitive, math, literacy, and physical. And I'm not going to go through all of those, but you can kind of take a look at that. And I'll give you an idea of how prepared your child is for kindergarten. We offer parent-teacher conferences twice a year. You already had your first one. Your second one will be in April, and that's a fantastic time to start asking about these. These will be on the assessment because, like I said, we have the same assessment as them. So these will show up on our assessment as well, and the teachers will be talking about these aspects. But so make sure that you kind of, if there's something you're concerned about, just ask them about this. And I always just kind of keep this in a file. Okay, let's move on to kind of the details of kindergarten registration. So Douglas County opened up their kindergarten registration way early this year. They opened it, it's already open. Usually when I give this meeting, we set our calendar, and I usually give this meeting before kindergarten registration has opened up, but they opened it up November 3rd. Now, in terms of the schools in the area, both Littleton, Douglas County, anywhere, there are open enrollment options. And with open enrollment, that means that you can go to a different school that is not your neighborhood school. The laws behind neighborhood schools, though, guarantee that your child has a spot in kindergarten at their school. They are required to provide a spot. So even if you register the day before school starts, they have to have a spot for you if you are in the neighborhood area. If you are not, they can't guarantee you a spot. So that is why they have the open enrollment. They kind of get an idea of where people are going and what kind of spots they have for the children in the area, and they use different census data for that. The other thing about that too is that while you can register the day before kindergarten starts, I don't recommend it. We have seen countless times kindergartens and schools opening up another section of a classroom because people registered late, and then it shifts your teachers and it shifts how they the classrooms and the building and all of that. So my recommendation is for your peace of mind and also ease on the school as well, is to register for kindergarten as quickly as you can. The other thing too is if you plan to register for Explorers, register for both. I always say have a plan B. I mentioned at our Explorers meeting last week that we have 24 spots available for Explorers and 36 potential kids that could go to Explorers. So if you're considering Explorers, register for 2 because you might need your plan B as well. Before I get started too much on the different schools, I wanted to talk about the different levels of schools, the different types of schools there are. There are private schools, charter schools, and public schools, and they all are governed and run and have a different set of laws per each one. You have private schools. We are a private school, but private schools are usually funded through tuition. Most of them require tuition of some sort. They also do not have to follow some of the school laws that are in place. They do have to follow some, a lot of them, but not all of them. And one of the biggest ones is they don't have to have a principal who is licensed as a principal, and they don't necessarily have to have teachers who are licensed as teachers. My recommendation is if you are looking at a private school, I recommend that you ask, the first thing you should ask is what kind of credentials the principal has. Sometimes they'll call them like chief operating officers, and so ask what kind of credentials and experience that person has, and that gives you an idea of the philosophy of the school. It will also kind of give you an idea of who else is licensed in the different classrooms as well. Licensing of teachers is a really important thing. I'm not going to go too much into it, but just as someone who's been in education as long as I have, and I have an elementary degree, I have a director's certificate, and I also have a principal licensure, so I know all of those aspects. It's really important that you have people in the schools who are licensed for a lot of legality reasons too. So that is one thing that I would make sure that I ask in terms of private schools. The next one is charter schools. Charter schools they receive what's called a charter from a school district, the school district that they reside in, and the charter schools are kind of in between the two. They have their own usually kind of theme of their school, like you might have like the STEM school, for example, or there is some of the magnet schools and some of the there's a performing arts school over in Lone Tree. Those are all charters, and they have kind of different directions for where their programs are heading. And they have a little bit of a different situation in terms of like the boards that they report to and the different aspects of how they educate. Their teachers are lead teacher qualified or certified in the state of Colorado, and usually their principal is too. That one can be, depending on how their charter is set up, that one is one to kind of check into. I have seen some charter schools without a principal who has a principal license in Colorado, so check out that. And then the other side of it is public schools. They are governed by a board of education. They follow the state laws, they follow federal laws, and they also are funded that way as well. They are funded from the federal government money as well as state money, and October 1st is their count day. So if your child has a dentist appointment on October 1st, change it. It'll help the funding with the school. Make sure that your child is there. They'll also warn you about it. But that is how they receive their funding, is essentially who is in seats on October 1st. There are some that are kind of trying to find ways around that to kind of do like a week-long attendance record. But we'll see how some of it's working and some of it's not. But that kind of gives you an idea of the level of public, charter, and private schools and the spectrum that they all fall in. All right. I won't go too far into, you guys can all read really well, so I'm not going to go too far into some of the details of Douglas County School District's kindergarten. About 3 years ago, I think it was, they moved to full-day kindergarten, and so they are, and it's all free. They have a thing called Balanced Beginnings, and this is a program that helps with the transition from preschool or whatever they are in before kindergarten into their programs in the schools. And Balanced Beginnings looks a little bit different at each school, but they follow the same essential practices. And they allow, like I said, they have like a half day where they go and they meet their teacher, they see the classroom, they do their assessment, and then they kind of work into it throughout the week. And so I recommend really partaking in the offerings through that Balanced Beginnings program. They've been doing it for many years, and it's fantastic. If you have questions about the registration process, I would call the school itself, unless you're open enrolling. If you're open enrolling somewhere, you're going to want to talk to the open enrollment department at the district down in Castle Rock, and they'll kind of help you with that. But really, each school does it a little differently, so you'll want to make sure you're getting the right information and not just a blanket amount of information if you have specific questions. Okay, so some of the questions that we have here. What happens if I register my child for kindergarten at a Douglas County charter school? Similar to us, my recommendation is you register in your neighborhood school or another public school you want to go to, and the charter schools. Most of our charter schools are in the area are on lotteries, and so you're not guaranteed a spot there. Again, you are guaranteed a spot at your neighborhood school, so that is a really great option. I had a parent 3 years ago who wanted Explorers, wasn't going to get into Explorers, and had no plans the day before school started and was kind of panicking. So my recommendation is don't do that to yourself. Make sure that you get registered. You've got a plan B for your options unless it's your neighborhood school, and you don't need a plan B for your neighborhood school. I have a lot of connections and people that in the area, especially that in the different schools, and there is not a single Douglas County school I don't recommend. I've been in several of them. I know the principals I know a lot of the teachers at them. And I don't have a bad thing to say about any of them. So if you're kind of worried about Plan B being your neighborhood school and you've heard through the grapevine things, I'm telling you, I haven't. In these schools, we have seen that they're doing great stuff with these students. Let's see, we talked about their eligibility. I have had a couple people in the past ask me if they can send their child to kindergarten early. Douglas County used to do that, and they don't anymore. There is no waiver process for that. So your child has to be 5 on or before October 1st. Let's see. There's a little bit here about if you're skipping kindergarten and going to first grade. I don't recommend that. For a lot of different reasons, but if that's something that you feel if it's for your child, you can go ahead and read that section there. And then we talked about how to know if your child is ready for kindergarten, and that is why we gave you that Start Strong in Kindergarten from the school district. Moving over to Littleton schools, there's not much difference here, except for their dates, of course. Why all do it on the same day? Their dates, they will start open for resident kindergartners. So that's the ones that live in the area of Littleton School District. The enrollment, the registration process for them starts on December 1st. And it'll go through January 14th. And then there's also a pre-registration, so that's your open enrollment for Littleton. So if you're open enrolling and going to a different school than the neighborhood school, you'll want to do their pre-registration process, which is there on their website as well. Down at the bottom of the Littleton flyer and onto the next page are information nights that they're having, so you can kind of go see those different schools. It's kind of cute. We've had a lot of students in the last couple of weeks going to their kindergartens and coming back with little stickers and bears and all excited. So it's really important that you go take your child to their kindergarten if they're offering little tours for children, which most of them, if not all of them, do. Be prepared for the registration process. If you think we ask for a lot of paperwork, wait till you get there. We're just getting you started here. They will need a deed or rental agreement proving that you live in the district you're open enrolling in or enrolling in. They will need immunization records. They will need general health appraisal forms. They will need the insurance information and all of that. So start hunting down those things. I'm sure many of us haven't looked at our rental agreement or deed in a while, so go hunt that down. They will ask for that as proof of residency. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. If you need a copy of your immunization records or your general health appraisal, we would be happy to get you a copy of that, just to kind of save you a step if you don't have one on yourself or at home. What kind of questions do you guys have? Yes? Yes.
But my son turns 5 in the month of December.
Okay.
So if I were to apply December 1st or register.
Yeah, it just needs to be updated by the time he starts school. So send one now with your registration paperwork, and then they'll ask you, just like we do. Okay. And my office staff is so great about getting you guys to keeping you on date with all of those that you'll get reminders in November and December for that. So we'll help you with that. Yep. What other questions do you have about kindergarten? Okay, a couple of things I want to talk to you about is trying to help your child be as independent as possible. Our teachers here are really good about it, but we only have them for a limited amount of time. It's really important that you teach them how to carry their backpack. It's important that you teach them how to take things in and out of their backpacks. We do that here too, but if you can do that at home as well. I recommend sometimes you can get those reusable Ziploc bags. Have your child practice opening bags when they're eating lunch with you at home. So over Christmas break, put their lunch in Ziploc bags, put them in Tupperware containers, and have them work on opening those things. And then have them work on putting them back together. It's really awful when you go through your child's backpack at the end of the day and half their sandwich is out because they didn't close anything up. So start working on those. Tying shoes is always a question I get. Your child doesn't need to know how to tie their shoes. The teachers will help them, but you might want to provide them with a set of shoes that are easy to manage themselves in kindergarten, because you have to keep in mind they're going from a classroom of 10 or 12 here to a classroom of anywhere from 20 to 30 in the schools. So you'll want to make sure that you kind of are giving them as many independent skills as possible. Zipping up jackets, that's a big one. Putting gloves and mittens on, that's another one. Getting hats on, teaching them how to manage those things and put them back where they belong, so you're not buying 17 pairs of gloves throughout the year. They will not get help in the bathroom very much, if at all, so make sure they're really independent on their bathroom skills, which most of our kids here are anyway, but keep that in mind when you're working with them this summer too. Let's see. Walking on their own. I know we love to carry them. I was actually thinking about it. I wonder when the last time I carried my 17-year-old son was. Anyway, it got me all nostalgic. But anyway, side note, my recommendation though is start having them learn to walk into the building. A lot of you do that here anyway, but kind of get them used to that, because they're going to have to do a lot more walking around in their buildings, and building up those gross motor skills is important. Let's see. Lunch box management too. I have seen sometimes those bento boxes. I love the bento boxes. Sometimes they're hard, so you work with them on opening those bento boxes, closing them. If you have one that's too difficult for you, just get them another one. Yeah, because that's gonna be too difficult for them too. What else do you have for me? Okay, and we all got the note that if you're thinking about Explorers, register for both, right? If you are thinking about Explorers, we don't keep your school supply fee if you decide to change. I never want the fees that we charge you to be a reason you don't go somewhere and do what's best for your child. So we always refund those, even though they're non-refundable. We refund them for Explorers who are going to kindergarten. So don't ever worry about anything like that. We're here to support you guys in whatever you need to do for your child. Yeah. Okay. Email me, call me, stop me in the hallways or outside, whatever you need to do, we're happy to help you. And feel free to reach out for anything, even if it's, hey, what school, I'm looking at this school and this school. I get that probably is my most frequent question. People think about different types of schools or even 2 different schools they're thinking about, and I'd be happy to give you some feedback, what I know about it, and I'll be honest, if I don't know about it too, I'll let you know that too, so. I did want to go on and talk to you about, on the Colorado Department of Education's website, there is a section on the website called, I think it's called Great Schools, and that is data that the schools have to send to the Department of Education, and then you can see kind of trends in graduation rates. You can see trends in testing data, attendance records, that sort of stuff. The principals are required every year to upload data to the Department of Education, and they publish it. So if you're kind of thinking about different schools, you can go and look on that information, and it's fantastic. It's super helpful. There are some things you need to keep in mind, though. If you look too far back, you're going to start seeing some skewed data due to COVID. Attendance records look awful, testing data is down, that sort of stuff. So keep that in mind. Don't go too far back because you're going to start getting some skewed information. But it seems to me like in the recent years that I've looked at it, it seems to have kind of evened out and is giving some good information about the schools. So thank you for coming. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, thank you.